we are going to start the first chapter of literature, that is Thelma Ray. It was written by Tisha Coiner. This story is about a mother named Thelma and her daughter. In this story, Thelma's daughter narrates each and everything about her relation with her mother, how both of them spent their free time, how her mother was not only her mother but also a friend and a good advisor, and how she kept her mother's legacy alive even after her death. So, let's start the chapter. Thelma caught my attention with a wave of her arm from the beach just below me. Blue jeans rolled up to her knees. She sat with her bare toes digging into the warm sand as she worked. Her curly hair, having fallen victim to the coastal wind, whipped across her face. At 36 years old, she looked as much a teenager as I did. At 36, sorry, and even with the 18-year age difference between us. She had long been my best friend. Waving again, the tablet fell from her lap as she motioned me to join her. Yes, so in this para, there is a view of Thelma sitting near the beach with her bare toes, digging into the warm sand, and because of coastal wind, her hair came across her face. When she saw the narrator, she waved her and told her to join her. And what do you think? What is the age gap between narrator and Thelma? It's 18 years of age difference. And at the age of 36, Thelma still looked like a teenager to the narrator. And both of them had a friendly relation between them. The next one, a strange way to spend an afternoon for some. For us, it had become almost a tradition. Thelma and I shared a love for writing, and Simpson Beach was an inspirational place to work. We would each bring our tablets and find a comfortable seat, then sitting apart to avoid the temptation to chat instead of write. We worked separately yet in unison. As the waves crashed and the seagulls sang around us, offshore in the sea, a large wolf shaped rock watched over the scene. Wise old Timmons, Thelma called him. Yes, so for others, spending an afternoon in the way Thelma and the narrator used to spend is strange. But for them means for Thelma and the narrator, it will be a tradition. Here it means the tradition the narrator shared with Thelma to work together on Simpson Beach. They would both arrive with their tablets to sit and work separately to avoid the temptation to chat instead of working, and then spend quality time with each other. So, next one, I climbed down from the ledge 10 feet up the base of a sandstone cliff where I had been nestled with my tablet. Work time was obviously over. Now it was time to play. I joined Thelma in the warm sand. Our tablets were soon forgotten as we ran along the water's edge, splashing in the waves. Like two kids, we threw pieces of driftwood into the surf and waited for them to come back. Then we headed off to visit the tide pools, located at the edge of the rock cliffs on the south side of the beach. Thelma loved to gently poke the tiny sea anemones with her finger. I seldom dared touch them, but it was fun to watch them suck their long, sticky tentacles into a soft wad of color attached to a rock. Sometimes we also found starfish and tiny crabs, which we would hold for a moment before releasing them to return to their pool. Every visit to Simpson Beach was full of new discoveries, and it was always an afternoon well spent. There were also many nights that we sat up until dawn just talking. It was no wonder we were best friends. We had so much in common, an affinity for Chinese food and soft music, the Oregon coast, and of course, writing. Sometimes during our long talks, Thelma would get philosophical and offer advice about life. She taught me that every now and then grown ups do say things worth listening to. Yes, so in that quality time, both of them act like two kids. They used to splash in the waves of the beach, ran along the water's edge, and threw pieces of driftwood into the surf. And like an innocent kid, they waited for the driftwood to come back. After that, they headed towards the south side of the beach, where they play with the sea creatures and release them into the water. And in this way, their every visit to Simpson Beach was full of discoveries. Sometimes they stay there until sunset, talking with each others like best friends. They also have lots of things in common, like soft music, visit to Oregon coast, love to eat Chinese food, and writing. In Thelma's presence, narrator doesn't need anyone in her life. She is not only her mother, but also a friend as well as an advisor. Thelma sometimes advised to the narrator to listen to each and every words that the grown-ups told you. To grown-ups advice is really fruitful. So come to the next one. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. She often said it was just one of countless axioms she was fond of. I don't know whether she made the little phrases up or if she read them somewhere, but even today they echo through my mind at just the right moments. When I was old enough to get to know boys, she told me there are two things to remember when searching for that soulmate. The first one was to truly judge a man's character, watch him around children and dogs. If he takes the time to show them affection, he will do the same for you. It seemed silly back then, but it also made sense. Second, she said, you will never find a perfect man, so find one with faults you can deal with. I wondered at that time if she ever thought about looking for her soulmates. Year before, she had lost her husband of 10 years in a logging accident. She had been single ever since. Yes, sometimes Thelma used to give some advices to the narrator, and at that time, narrator was unable to understand those things. They seems meaningless to her. So Thelma told her that it's better to gather all the knowledge when there is no need of it, rather than not having any knowledge when you really need it. And when narrator was old enough to know boys, at that age Thelma again gave her a piece of advice for searching a soulmate for herself. First one is to watch man's character around children and dogs. If that person is loving and patient around them, then he will do the same for you. Secondly, instead of finding a perfect person, must find a man whose faults narrator can able to dealt with. At that time, narrator never thought of looking for her soulmate, and these things made no sense for her. Come to the next one. I finally met the right person, and at age 25, I got married. Though the time that Thelma and I spent together lessened. We always stayed close. Early in my marriage, I had a daughter, and Thelma was with us in the delivery room. I named her Tessa Ray, giving her Thelma's middle name. I will never forget Thelma's beaming face as she repeated the baby's name over and over again. Things got harder after that. My husband accepted a job 3 hours away and we had to move. Thelma's health had been poor for a while, and I worried about her daily, but we faithfully stayed in touch. I tried to coax her into moving closer, but she resisted. Then one day she called me at work from the hospital. Yes, so at the age of 25, narrator finally met with her soulmate and got married, and very soon she had a daughter. Narrator named her Tessa Ray after her mother's middle name. So, after getting married and having a child, narrator and Thelma spent very less time together. And narrator have to move to other place because of her husband's job. Narrator remained worried because of Thelma's poor condition, and she continuously pursued Thelma to move closer to her house so that she may take care of her. But Thelma resisted. One day, narrator got a call from the hospital at her working place. So let's see why Thelma called narrator from the hospital by reading the next para. It was cancer terminal because they hadn't caught in time. The phone nearly dropped to the bakery floor as I fumbled in shock to keep it to my ear. Those words thundering from my head. I'm on my way, I heard myself whisper. Can you bring some of those lemon filled donuts? She answered. Picturing her dancing blue eyes pleading, I almost smiled. The hospital was quiet when I arrived that evening, but Thelma's room was full of beeps, buzzers, and strange faces. I put on a brave face as I walked into her room. There was Thelma, her usual vibrant self, sitting high in the bed and teasing the nurses. Next thing I knew she was lecturing me about keeping positive. The cancer traveled quickly from her lymph nodes to her bones and then into her brain. I held her hand daily, watching her fade slowly. My brilliant, articulate Thelma could barely speak. So she comes to know that narrator's mother, Thelma, is suffering from cancer and it is in last stage. This information made narrator shocked. She can't utter a single word except whispering, I am on my way on the phone. When she reached to the hospital, the whole hospital was quiet and Thelma's room was full of beeps, buzzers, and strange faces. The narrator put on a brave face when she entered the hospital room because she didn't want to break down in front of Thelma. There, she saw that even on the hospital bed, Thelma was full of life, teasing the nurses, and when she saw narrator, she told her to be positive. So the narrator made a daily visit to Thelma in the hospital. The cancer traveled to her brain, and there was a time came when she barely talked. The next one. During our last visit, she couldn't say much, but I know I saw a smile when I sat Tessa Ray on my friend's tummy in the hospital bed. Thelma weakly lifted both hands to play patty cake one last time. Then I retold old stories of Simpson Beach to eyes so blue and now so hollow. Now I embrace those memories. I pass the stories along with the words of wisdom. My friend's legacy to Tessa and her brother. I also try to write regularly and to eat Chinese food and visit the Oregon coast as often as I can. You see, Thelma was extra special. Not only was she my best friend, but she was also my mom. So, during narrator's last visit to Thelma, she can't talk much but smile when narrator's daughter Tessa sat on Thelma's tummy and narrator retold all her memories of Simpson Beach to Thelma. Now, narrator keeps her mother's legacy alive by sharing her memories and her mother's wisdom with her children. She also tries to write regularly, eat Chinese food often, and visit the Oregon coast as often as she can. Now, Thelma was not with narrator, but her memory is. So, Thelma was not only narrator's mom, but also her best friend to whom she is unable to forget in her entire life, even after her death. Thank you.